What's up, guys? It's your homegirl, your sister friend, E. Marie, and we're back on. Y'all know how I do. We are back on with a whole new podcast episode. Y'all know we have been in an amazing podcast series. Let's talk. Let's talk conversation series. So y'all know I have had some wonderful women as well as the men come on, and we're just having conversations about life events and important things, that will help us as it pertains to life in different areas of life. And tonight it won't be any different. I have people in their professions coming on, encouraging us and talking about different areas where we can improve on. And tonight's episode, I have a good friend of mine, Ty Roberts. She's an amazing woman, not just in her profession, but in real life. And so tonight, she'll be on talking about the importance of a doula in the African American, Black and Brown communities. So let's get together. Take your moment, digress, because I know, Fridays, it's just real busy. Y'all just doing ripping and running. So now is the time just to chill out, relax, and enjoy this episode. All right. So without further ado, we will have my friend, none other than Ty Roberts.
Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Hey, how you doing?
Good. How
you doing? Good?
I'm doing good, girl.
Well, good seeing you too.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm so honored to be able to be here.
No problem at all. I'm just super excited. I say this every time, and I know people are like, she say that every time, and I do, because you know what I'm saying? Our lives are hectic, our lives are busy, and just to have those connections with friends and know the profession that they're in and exposing them and allowing you to come on this this particular podcast and share, because there's somebody out there who really needs this information, and they may not even be connected to you, they may be connected to me. So why not open up the platform and allow other people to connect, because collaboration, that's where it's at.
Yep, you're right.
That is where it's at.
Right, man.
So tight. Welcome to It's Me, E. Marie podcast. And tell the viewers, kind of get the viewers a little bit about your background and where you're from and what Ty is all about.
All right. So my name, of course, like she said, is Ty Roberts, and I am a birth doula, postpartum doula, childbirth educator, placenta encapsulator. I also teach newborn care and infant CPR. I recently, within the last day, got my lactation specialist certification, so now I'm able to help. Yes. Okay. I also am a doula instructor, so if there's people that want to know how to be a doula or want to take that step, I can train them as well. On a personal note, I'm a mom of 4. I have 4 girls and just became a grandmother 5 weeks ago.
Come on, Grandma Club.
So yes, I'm doing the doggone thing with all my girls.
Yes.
And I am originally from Newark, New Jersey. I know you probably cannot hear that in my speech, but I've been back and forth, south to north, north to south. I've been everywhere. So wherever I am at that moment is what comes out. But that's where I'm from. I also, on another personal level, I'm very involved in my church, and I'm a minister and worship leader and all those good things. So I'm always doing something, and I just enjoy being Ty. I'm like, really where I'm enjoying being. What?
That's what's up. That's most important right there, because of all of the different hats that you wear, you still have that balance to still embrace who you are.
Yes.
Yes. That's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
So as you were talking, I just began to think about some conversations, and I remember this one particular time. So Ty and I, let me slow down, because I know when I start talking, I just be like, so let's slow down. So Ty and I, we met at church, and she was my worship leader overseer of worship, worship coordinator, or whatever. Basically, in just the short of it, she was a worship pastor, basically.
Yeah, basically.
So, I remember just being in a class, and I was like, man, you were really helping people be birthed. Not really, not really understanding that, in the spiritual as well as in the natural, that this is what God has orchestrated and ordained of you to do.
Right.
And so it's just so amazing just to really see things come in full circle, that how you help birth other people
Wow.
into their purpose in the spiritual aspect, and then in the natural help bring life into the world.
Wow.
God is bad, Mama Jim.
And you know what's also funny about that is because just kind of gets tipping into where we're going to be going with the conversation.
Uh-huh.
Years ago, not many years ago, but years ago, I battled even infertility. And I kept saying,
Wow.
God, I want to have more babies. I want to have more babies. I didn't even know then that I would be having more babies, but they wouldn't necessarily be coming from me. They would be coming from helping other people birth their babies.
Yeah.
So it amazes me how we have our own plan,
Mm.
but then we look at the plans of God. It's like I would never have in a million years thought that this was a part of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was nowhere on my register at all. So to just see how it all has come together, it's like, okay, I'm helping people birth, just not
Yeah.
birth out of me, just helping them birth their own babies and helping them be empowered to do their thing.
Yeah. But even in that, that still gives you, um, it just seals the deal as it relates to purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It just seals the deal. And I know that one of my favorite verses I've embraced over the last couple of years, I want to say probably about 19, Proverbs 19 and 21, many are the plans in a man's heart, but it is God's purpose that shall prevail. And so it goes back to what you were saying, we all have plans, but it is the purpose of the Lord that prevails. And even in that, it's just really a blessing just to watch, you walk in your purpose, you doing what God has mandated of you to do. And doing that, setting people free and helping them embrace who God has called them to be. That's a beautiful thing.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Couldn't have done it better myself.
So, ma'am,
Yes,
I need
ma'am.
you. Help us, because there are many people who really don't know what a doula is. I think sometimes we can get it misconstrued because a lot of people use midwife and doulas interchangeably. So, can you help us? Can you educate us as it relates to what is a doula?
Yes. So while a midwife and a doula can have job descriptions that overlap, they are still two very distinct entities within themselves. So
Okay.
a doula is someone who offers their service to basically be the cheerleader for that mom. So we walk with women through pregnancy, through labor, birth, and postpartum. What we do is we educate them, we emotionally support them, and we
Mm-hmm.
pull together resources for them if they need other things, and we physically help them with the process. So what does that look like? One of the things
Yeah.
that we do is we help them with their birth plan. So let's say you know you're going to have a baby and you're like, I don't know what my options are, I don't know what my rights are, I don't know who I want to have my birth, I don't know if I want candles at my birth, I don't know if I want massage. Like, I don't, there's so many things you can have for your
Hold
birth
on.
experience.
You
And a
can
lot
have that.
oh yeah, you can. Listen, I had a client one time, they had fairy lights around their delivery room, they had a diffuser with this amazing aromatherapy going on, and they had a
Ooh.
whole song list of songs, and it just happened to be good worship songs that were playing in the background. They had the lights down low. It was that still goes down as one of my best deliveries because it was just, the atmosphere was so amazing.
Let me take
But
notes.
they didn't know. Take notes, sis. But they didn't know they had those rights. They didn't know what they were able to do until
Yeah.
we started working on their birth plan. So we talk about the birth plan, which we always keep open because even though you have a plan, you've always got to make room for the fact that something may happen that we may have to deviate. So we make the
Okay.
birth plan. And then we also talk through what your body's going through physiologically. What is your
Hmm.
body doing in that third trimester that you're experiencing the pains, you're experiencing the extra things that come along with that third trimester as your body is preparing for birth. We
Yeah.
talk through all those things and how we can help you be more comfortable. And then we also work through things like acupressure, massage, right now affirmations, and how we can physically help you reduce your pain during your birth and your labor and your birth. So the techniques that we use,
Okay.
there's one particular technique called the double hip squeeze, which the double hip squeeze. You put the pressure on the hips to
Uh-huh.
make opening for the pelvis for the baby to come down. Okay, that also aids you with the baby, your labor progressing a little quicker versus the
Hmm.
baby being stuck in one spot and trying to figure out where do I go to get out of this vaginal vault, you know. Um,
Okay.
but we add pressure to places to relieve pain, like your
Woo.
back and
Hold
your
on, hold
shoulder.
on. I done went somewhere else. I done went somewhere else. I done went. It's the preacher in me. You
Oh
add
God,
pressure.
yeah,
You add pressure to help reduce
preacher.
pain.
Come on,
Ooh.
listen. Okay, look. The last thing you should have done is put two preachers on the dog on the same podcast, okay? Because I was about to follow it up with somebody else. Like, nope, nope, I'm not gonna do it, girl. Because the pressure, whoo,
Whoo.
can relieve the
My
pain.
God.
Let it.
Ooh.
My bad, my bad,
Oh man. Okay. I gotta rest on that for a minute though. Hold on. Hold on. Wow. Okay. So. Okay. Keep going. I'm gonna stay
my
there for a minute.
bad. So we do those things, and we also offer massage for the moms, and just keep them as comfortable as we can. If we're in the delivery room and they're in
Hmm.
labor, if you need water, we're gonna get you some water. If you need ice, whatever it is that you need to make your experience the experience that you want and you need, that's what we're there for.
Okay.
You want certain people to not be in the delivery room. We will act as the go-between. Like we're trying to make this atmosphere as conducive to a healthy delivery as possible. I already know
Y'all
you
sound
want
like
to
the
get somewhere,
paraclete.
huh? Yeah,
You sound like
yeah.
the.
Solid.
Go ahead, mediator.
All right. So yeah, we are the go-between. Okay.
Oh my God.
So, but also in that same vein, we
Hmm.
also act as a go-between for our clients and the medical staff.
Okay.
So a lot of times what happens is our clients will go to the doctor's office and they'll hear something and they're like, we don't understand this. Like, what are they saying? And
Yeah.
a lot of times the medical professions forget. All of us didn't go to medical school. I didn't.
Right.
You know, so if you saying something to me in your medical jargon, how do you intend for me to decipher that if you're not breaking it down for me?
Right.
So the doula, we have our appointment. After you have your doctor's appointment, we'll get together and we'll say, okay, let's walk through this doctor's appointment. Tell me what they said. And we
Hmm.
help them figure out, based on what was said, what they want to do with those options. So a lot of people have the misconception when it comes to doulas that we step in and make the decisions for people. We do not do that. That's not our job.
Okay.
Our job is to go with the information that you have, present to you evidence-based information so that you can make an informed decision about what you want to do with the information that you've been given.
Hmm.
Um, and so we do that every step of the way. If there's something recommended and you're not sure about, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna figure it out. If there's something that doesn't make sense, we're still not gonna use our own opinions. We're
Yeah.
gonna add another insight. Well, have you thought about this? So we have this acronym called BRAIN. And
Okay.
BRAIN stands for what are the benefits, what are the risks, what are the alternatives, what are the implications, and what if I just say no? So in every
Mm.
situation that you're in, you and that's with or without birth. Like if you go to a regular doctor's appointment, you need to know your benefits, you need
Yes.
to know the risk, the
Yes.
alternative, the implications, and what if I just don't do anything right now? Like if I don't do
Hmm.
anything and I go home and I talk about it with someone I trust, what happens? So I tell my clients that like know your rights, know your voice is valuable, and this is your birth and nobody else's birth, not even mine.
Yeah.
So we walk through that whole process and hold their hand through it all. Sometimes we even counselors, like sometimes clients would just talk to us and cry because they're just so frustrated, or they didn't, or even cry out of happiness because they're like, we did not know that we
Right.
had these kind of rights. We didn't know we had these kind of alternatives and options. And you're presenting to us a world we didn't even know existed. So
I
we
feel
basically
like,
just help them with that.
and I feel like that as it relates to the African American community, and I'm not saying it because of the like, I hope the way that I say it doesn't come off like we're slow, because we're not. We just don't, we're not educated as it relates to the health field in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Because they'll throw the, like you said, they'll throw these medical jargons around and expect us to understand it. And we're like, oh, okay, and kind of go with the flow, especially if it's just us by ourselves. But having a doula to be able to be that mediator, to speak in our language in a manner in which, you know, we understand, that helps us as it relates to knowing what options I have. You know,
Right.
because a lot of times with the doctor, they'll give you something and you think that's the end all be all. Like, oh, I gotta go with this because they
Right.
said it.
Right. And it also, along with the fact that we had not gone to medical school to know all the stuff that they talk about, if depending on where you live demographically, you may not
Mhm.
even have access to the information to even go back and research what they said. So
Right.
it's like you're dealing with a double-edged sword, because it's like, okay, I'm already at a disadvantage, possibly because of the color of my skin. But then
Mhm.
I'm living in an area or under circumstances that don't even grant me the access to be able to find out the information on my own to make an
Right.
informed decision. And just like a point that you just made that was very important, a lot of times we have this hierarchy in the medical world that because somebody has on a white coat and has a stethoscope
Right.
around their neck, that you have to do what I say because I'm the
Mhm.
doctor. I went to school for 25 years. I know what I'm talking about, and you don't. And that's counterproductive. So I just went to a hospital with another doula, and it was like a pelvic floor therapist and a lactation person were all there. Mind you, I was the only black face in the room. Okay.
Okay.
And so they go around the room and they're asking questions like, well, what should we do about this? And what should we do about that? And so we're on a panel, we're giving advice to them about how to do certain things. And for the most part, I was kind of quiet because I didn't
Mhm.
really know when to come in. And so at the end of it, I think the question was, what can we do to improve relationships with our patients? And the room got real quiet, and I was like, this is my spot right here.
Yep.
And I said, so, it's very obvious that I'm the only black person in the room. So I'm going to tell you from my vantage point what you can do. And these are residents, so they haven't even graduated. They're starting to work with these patients.
Ooh.
And I said, you have to realize and know right now that there's a very real problem when it concerns black maternal health. Let's get that part right. There's a very real issue, and the issue is not on the patient. The issue is systemic racism and implicit bias. And a lot of times when you have patients coming into your facilities, our first thought is, am I going to make it out of here alive?
Yes.
I say, so your treatment of your patients has got to come from a different place other than I'm the doctor. You have to realize that there's a real fear when we as people of color have to yield ourselves to your care, not knowing if you really care if we make it out alive, if you're really going to give us the same advantage as
Right.
our white counterparts. Like, so when you see us, already have that in your mind. Not that you just think, well, all black people are scared. No, we have real reason as to why we feel this way. And we need you to be aware. I need you to be aware that this is real, because if not, you're going to keep doing business as usual, and we're going to keep seeing black women die. We're going to keep seeing black ladies die. And somebody's got to break this. And I'm talking to a room full of residents that y'all are hearing me say, this is a problem because the systems are not changing. So my philosophy is you cannot affect change in any situation if you're not giving a seat at the table. And once
That's
you get
right.
to the table, you got to use your voice at that table because otherwise you may not have that opportunity again. Now they may not
Mhm.
invite me again, but I said what I had to say. You know.
That's good.
It is.
That's good. That's
So,
good. I mean, but the thing about it is that it's not for not. It's not for granted that now you're in this season where your voice is being heard. Your voice is being heard and helping the next generation of doctors who are coming
right,
up, because there
right.
has to be a pivot that takes place in the medical
Yes,
field,
yes,
as well as it relates to the African American, the black and brown community when it comes to giving birth. Because
right.
it don't make no sense for us to come into the hospital and you're treating me like Susie,
Yes.
and my symptoms are definitely different. My pain tolerance is definitely different. And if I tell you, oh, my body is hurting right here, I need you to acknowledge the pain that I have and not dismiss it.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I
that's
think,
what, yeah.
well, I literally was about to say, go ahead. I think you was going to say what I was saying.
That comes from years and years and years ago, and it's still
Yes.
in textbooks where our bodies were used to perform experiments, health experiments that would benefit white women. So they don't want to experiment on them, they experiment on us because according to what they thought, we don't experience pain. Our skin is different. We're tougher and we don't. So these women were undergoing these experiments with no anesthesia at all. And they were the slaves. They were having no anesthesia, no nothing, and used to document and used, like, even let's even go back to Henrietta Lacks, when her cells were used as cancer experiments without her consent. Like, it's just so many. The Tuskegee experiment. I mean, we could keep going on and on about all these things. So it should be no surprise when Black people or people of color don't want to get on board with stuff that they're doing now.
Right.
Like even clinical trials, it's like, okay, how do I know you're not about to try to mutilate me because you think
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying? So it's just, and like you said, but see, this is stuff that was taught in textbooks.
Yep.
That's the problem. It was taught in textbooks, and the textbooks have not changed that much. So you still have the same outdated, wrong information
Exactly.
that medical student after medical student after medical student is still reading and thinking this stuff is true. I'm like, can y'all change it? Can y'all do something?
Change the narrative.
So I had a client a couple of days ago, and she had gone into the hospital for one thing, and she went in there for like a checkup or something. Next thing you know, they done tried to prep this girl for a C-section, wasn't telling her what the C-section was for, and she's like, why are you like, and she was asking them real questions like, why are you setting me up for a C-section? What is going on? Why are we doing this? Nobody's giving her answers and just doing stuff around her. And I'm like, see, that's what I'm talking about. We're in the year 2023 and this stuff is still happening and nobody's doing anything. So she's already traumatized. So she's getting ready to have her baby in a couple of days. Based on that situation alone, she's already traumatized. And I'm like, you're already sending her into a situation where now her blood pressure might be up when she gets there. And maybe the baby's heart rate may go down because you've already pre-traumatized her unnecessarily. Started a whole IV line on her and everything for nothing. And I'm like, and I wouldn't, because all this happened while I wasn't there. And I'm like,
wow,
what in the world? So now we got to work against that just for her to have a successful birth. And we in 2023.
Don't you just hate that? And but the thing about it is, it goes back to what I said. You're in this position at this time. This is a part of your purpose, because this to help bring about change, even if it's the smallest change. That small change goes a long way. So man,
and I get so worked up every time.
I know you do, because you're not just a doula, you're an advocate.
Yes.
So it goes back to the paraclete in being an advocate.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, you can't help but be who you are.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, man. So, related to being a doula, how did you get into this field?
Well, honestly, this has been years and years in the making. So back when I was in my teens, early
Mm-hmm.
20s, I really wanted to be an OBGYN. Like I always knew from a very, very young age that
Mm-hmm.
anything that was birth related, baby related, I was always fascinated with seeing pregnant women.
Wow.
Um, and so as I got older, of course, my life looked different because I had my
Mm-hmm.
daughter when I was 19, and then things changed. And I was like, I don't know if being a doctor is on the plan right now because I
Uh-huh.
got her. And so years later, I was like, well, maybe I can be a labor and delivery nurse. So I'm still in that vein of I can be around babies, I can be around moms, and that just didn't seem like it felt right. So I said I ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna do that either. And it was years later. I want to say it was probably around 2015 or 16 that I heard
Okay.
the word doula for the first time. And I heard about it, and then I started researching exactly what it was. And I was like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's me right there. And you would have thought that once I got that information, I would have jumped right on it, but I didn't. It
Uh-huh.
took me a little bit. So in 2019, I was no 2000, the latter part of 2018, I was like, you know what? I don't know where I gotta go. I don't know what I gotta do, but I'm doing this. I'm gonna find a training
Mm-hmm.
somewhere and I'm gonna do it. So it just so happened the weekend that I did it, I got really, really sick. And didn't know what in the world was happening. But that whole training, I was miserable. But I was like, I'm going anyway. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sick, but I'm going. I don't care if I gotta lay on the floor the whole time. I'm going. So I went, had the training, and basically when I got back, because I took the training in Nashville, and when I got back, I pretty much hit the ground running, and it's been the
Mm-hmm.
best decision I have made in a long time. It was really life changing for me, and it continues to be life changing for me because every day I'm finding out something extra that I can be doing to help
Uh-huh.
the community. So it's been a game changer for me.
So, as it relates to African Americans, Black and Brown community,
Mhm.
why is it so important for us to have access to doulas, and not just doulas, any doulas, but doulas who look like us?
Yeah. So that's exactly the component that's so important. It's important for people of color to have access to doulas, but it's even more important for doulas of color to have for clients of color to have doulas of color to help them with the process. Because it's been even researched that having someone that looks like you leads
Mm-hmm.
to better outcomes health wise. And I had this, so this years ago when I first started my doula journey, I had a conversation with a doula that I was like kind of introducing myself to. We got together for coffee and everything because she found out I was a
Uh-huh.
new doula in the area. And she was not a person of color. And so we met and we were sitting down talking. And I'm just having a regular conversation with her. And in the midst of that conversation, I start talking about, because she was like, saying that she wanted to be able to be an advocate for women of color and the birth scene and all that. So I start talking about, because if you're saying you want to be an advocate for women of color, then you got to know what the plight is, right?
Right.
So I start talking to her, and I start talking about the things that were going on the birth
Mm-hmm.
scene, and she had no idea what I was talking about.
Are
She
you
was like,
serious?
she said, I didn't know that happens. I'm like, you just said you want to be an advocate for women of color, but you have no idea what I'm talking about. So you cannot advocate for something that you don't even know exists. Like, in what way were you going to advocate if you don't know the problem? So that's why I said it's important for women of color or people of color to have doulas, but it's
Uh-huh.
important for people of color to have doulas that look like them because we understand. And I'm not saying
Yes.
somebody that's not black or a person of color doesn't understand, but you got to know
But
something
no.
about what's happening in
Exactly.
the community. You can't just say I want to be an advocate, but you have no idea. So that's why it's important, because we understand. And as a person of color and as a doula of color, I can be transparent enough. And I think I even brought that up at that session, that I still have struggles when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to going to doctors. I will be the first one to say I don't go to the doctor as regularly as I should. And when I
Mm-hmm.
do go, I'm just like, are they going to really take care of me? Are they going to listen? Are they
Right.
going to hear me? Are they going to dismiss my symptoms? So if I'm feeling like that and I feel like I have a slight advantage, then think about people that don't are not in this room at all and they're looking
Yeah.
at people to help them.
Right.
So yeah.
I think just as you were talking, I think a lot of times when we go to the doctor, that it goes back to talking over our head. Like there has to come a point in time where there has to be some type of humility where you realize in this profession, okay, I may be talking too high. Let me get on your level. Let me talk
Yes.
to you in a manner, and in real talk, you gotta be bilingual. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you might be professional, but speak my language. You know
Speak
what I'm
my
saying?
language. Yes. And don't speak my language in a way that I'm going to obviously see that you're trying to be condescending. Talk to me
Yes,
like I'm a human being that did not
exactly.
go to medical school so I can understand what you're saying. That's all. I'm not asking you to try to break out an ebonics because we know that's not what you use every day. But
Right,
talk to me in a way that is going to help me to understand exactly what you're trying to convey. And don't let me leave this office until you know I understand and I'm not leaving here confused or feeling like you're trying to push what you want to do on me. Like, no, give me my options. So if this is what your option is, tell me
uh-huh,
what my other options are. Don't just leave me with this one thing and then make me feel like, well, if you don't do this, then you're wrong. Yeah,
yeah.
can't.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to yeah, options, because a lot of times as it relates to giving birth, the only option that we know really is just to um have the baby in the hospital. Either you're gonna have a vaginal birth, or you're probably gonna have a cesarean, and you're probably gonna have an epidural.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of help us, because I know I had made reference to a VBAC. I've
Mm-hmm.
had two cesareans. I've been told, well, let's just go back. Before I even had the second cesarean, I was told by my doctor, because I had already had a cesarean, which I didn't want to have in the first place with the first child, but because the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck and meconium, and if y'all don't know what meconium is, he had boo booed in the womb. That's the best way for me to just describe it. Y'all understand that? So yes. So I had to have a cesarean because his blood pressure dropped. So I get pregnant with my second child, and they said basically because I had a cesarean previously, I had to have a second cesarean with this child. I was adamant about not, but because of complications, I had to have an emergency C-section. So for
Mm-hmm.
those women out there that have a desire for a vaginal birth, like how can they advocate for themselves or their doula if they don't have a doula? Like, help us.
Yeah. So it's very true that you can have a vaginal birth after a C-section, even if you've had two or three. You can still do
Mhm.
that. There are some instances where you cannot. Like, let's say, for instance, for whatever reason, your uterus became really weakened when they did the C-section the first time
Mhm.
or the second time. That will put you more at risk if you tried to have a VBAC the next time. But if all things are well with those C sections that you had, then there's no reason why you cannot have a VBAC. Um, and a lot of times people will say, yeah, you had a C section the first time, second time, so naturally just go ahead and have. But you don't have to do that.
Right.
You really do not have to do that. And you have to have somebody. You have to know what your options are in that case, because a lot of times doctors will say, but then you have some doctors. So I'm not. What I don't want to do is always say what the doctors won't do. You will
Right.
have some
Right.
doctors that really will be like, you know what, you can have a VBAC. You really
Hmm.
can. And they'll walk you through that process. So if you've had a cesarean or two or even three, depending on the circumstances and what that surgery outcome was, you can have a successful VBAC.
That's what's up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now I could say, like, related to my my both of my kids. So the doctor that was supposed to deliver my son, he wasn't on call. So another doctor delivered him. Well, when I had China, my doctor wasn't on call, but the doctor that taught the doctor that delivered Trillion how to stitch my
Mm.
cesarean was on call, so I got the same stitch, so I don't have these crazy stitch
Right.
marks. So that was, in a sense, it was a blessing, but at the same time, I didn't want to have another cesarean.
So you You said you had to have a cesarean the second time because of emergency.
Yeah, so both of them were emergency. So China's
Okay.
heart dropped,
Okay.
and it her heart rate was dropping like quickly,
Okay.
and they couldn't get it together. So I had to have it.
And
Trillion.
and that's why I say, even though you have a birth plan, always
Yeah.
stay open because you can have those emergent situations where no matter what plan you had, it could go out the window real quick. But all
Hmm.
things considered, like if everything's going the way it needs to go, no
Yeah.
heart rate dropping, no blood pressure dropping, none of that, there's no reason why you could not have a VBAC.
But I think too, in regards to what my circumstances, my physical circumstances, what I had endured, what I was going through was a factor. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that was a factor pertaining
Okay.
to, with China. So,
Mm-hmm.
I could see me having that cesarean, but had I had a doula, to help as it relates to breathing exercises and
Yeah.
just relaxing my body and
Mm-hmm.
massaging, my body, those, putting
Yeah.
pressure in those areas where pain was, I may
Right.
not have had that cesarean.
And see, if you raise another point though too, because of the misconception a lot of times is that if you're having a cesarean, whether it's planned, emergency, or scheduled, that you don't need a doula, and that's so far from the truth. Like any
Hmm.
birthing situation, a doula can benefit you either to help prep you with your options, to give you, because there's even aside from having a regular birth plan like a vaginal birth plan, there's also such thing as a cesarean birth plan, because there's certain things you can ask for, and that you can decide you want for a cesarean. But so a lot of people think, well, I'm having a cesarean, so it's gonna go in and cut me and get the baby out and be done. There's things you can do and ways that you can plan to make that as special and beautiful as you want it to be, rather than just feeling like, oh, I just had a cesarean.
See, I wanted
So
my placenta. I ain't even get that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So many things. Encapsulate your placenta, make some nice placenta art, have a cord
See,
keepsake, all of that. Like there's so many things you can do, like even having a
you with me, Ty? Give her a moment, y'all. I'm gonna let her computer come back up. But this was getting good. This was getting good. I hope y'all have really been listening, tuning in, um, to get this information because y'all in the American community, the Black and Brown community, we need this information. We really do need this information so that we can be empowered, and that when it comes to birthing, we will know what our options are. And so I'm super excited that, to have Ty, with us on tonight. And I know that pertaining to resources or whatever, she'll be able to direct us in the right path as it relates to providing us with insight on resources that we can get. Um, there's more information that she's going to share. She's actually she has her own business, and I really want her to talk about that and kind of direct y'all on how to connect with her business, Miracle V Birth Concierge. I believe that's her name. I think it has gone through a rebranding. But like, yo, y'all out there, y'all mamas that are out there planning on having another child, or this might be even your first child. I really think that getting plugged in with Tyra Roberts definitely is the way to go. Y'all see how much information she has to share? Shoot. You back with us, Ty?
good Lord.
I had to talk to the people. I had to let them know, look, y'all, this is the one that y'all need to plug in with because this information she got for us. There's resources that she can point you into. So, yes.
Yes, girl. I was like, Lord, please don't let the time out on me, Jesus.
No, ma'am.
Okay. What was the last thing I said?
Oh, Lord Jesus. I was talking about you was talking about
Oh,
VBACs.
Yes. So you can set it everything up the way you want for your cesarean. You can also do like placenta encapsulation and stuff like that. There's so much stuff that you can do for your birth. There's so many options that are available to you. And I think what I was saying, well, yeah, needing or having a doula for cesarean is just as beneficial for a vaginal birth. It's the same thing. You help in different ways, but you're definitely needed.
And see, I don't recall. Okay, so I do recall this because my body responded to the epidural in a way where I could not gain control of my body. I just shivered. I literally had these shivers. And, you know, my mom was in the room. My mom was in the room both times. But, you know, all she could do was really hold my hand and just try to help me, you know, talk me through it. But I believe just having a doula there, because she didn't know how to help me to breathe, tell me how to breathe. You know what I'm saying? And so that would have been really helpful in those moments, because I really didn't know what was going on.
Right. And then knowing what your body is doing and experiencing, because there's tremors and shakes that you can get as a result of having an epidural, but there's also tremors and shakes that you get just through hormonal shifts as your body progresses through labor. So knowing which is which and how to navigate through, and having somebody to say, okay, this is what you're... So in the beginning of me being a doula, there were certain things that I didn't know what to expect during birth. I remember I had my baby, but I didn't know what to expect for anybody else's baby. But when I started noticing that there was a pattern of things happening, and then my clients having questions in the midst, like, why am I shaking like this?
Yeah.
Or why am I feel nauseous right now? Or what? So I'm like, okay, this needs to be something that is known when I'm having my prenatal visits with my clients. So we talk about that. We talk about, okay, you're probably going to get the shakes and you might not be cold. This is because your hormones are shifting in anticipation of what's about to happen with the birth. You may feel nausea and you may have vomiting. Again, hormonal shift that your body is going through as you prepare to deliver. There's a lot of things that happen as you get closer to delivery, that if you don't know what's happening, it will be easy for you to get scared and think that something's really wrong when it's not. So I think having that education and knowing ahead of time what to expect can help alleviate that fear factor. So when you're walking into it, you're like, oh, she said this is going to happen. I'm good.
Yeah.
She said that was going to happen. I'm good. So that takes that fear away and allows you to be able to say, okay, I know I had a client one time that when we first got together, her and her husband, they really had this was her first child, had no idea about anything birth, anything baby, anything, any of that. And so they came in green, like they had no information. By the time we got to that hospital, I might as well not have been there.
Really?
That is so on lock. I mean,
my God.
She was like really in the beginning kind of timid, like, well, I don't know what to say. And we got that darn delivery room baby.
She done did the incredible Hulk on you.
That's my client right there. Now talk to her crazy if you want to. She knew from A to Z what she wanted, what she was not going to allow, what she wanted to have done, what she didn't want to have done. And I'm just sitting there like, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
To watch somebody come into my services and find that voice and find that power to be able to advocate for themselves. That's a doula's dream.
Yeah.
To be able to help someone find their voice and advocate for themselves and say, this is what I want, this is what I'm not going to tolerate. It just blew my mind and I loved it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, question.
Yes, ma'am.
Does a doula help with maternal care?
Yes. So are you talking about during the pregnancy?
So I'm talking about post as pre as well as post.
Yes. So depending on when someone comes to us, I've had people come to me at 8 weeks. I've had people come to me at 38 weeks. I'd always say there would be a nice medium in there so that we can build a relationship. So we walk with them through that whole process. So even though what we need to do is usually more towards the end, I always make sure that I'm keeping in contact with them, or them keeping in contact with me for any questions, anything that happens, and we're building that dialogue, we're building that relationship. So all the way through that until after the baby's born, I go back and I see them again to make sure they're doing okay. Looking at things like, are they running into issues of postpartum depression or postpartum blues or anything like that I can pull resources together for to help them navigate through this. Now, there are such thing as postpartum doulas, which I'm also one, and we actually have we do packages where you may want a postpartum doula for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, and they basically do like take care of you, take care of your baby. We may come in and do some light cooking. We may do a little bit of light cleaning, like laundry for your baby. Watch your baby while you sleep, take a nap, take a shower. Whatever the need is, that's what we fulfill. But we do that after the baby's born so that you still have that support. Then you're not feeling like, well, I just had the baby, now what? I'm just here by myself.
Yeah.
And that's whether you have a partner, significant other or not, because you both just went through this. So you both need the support. And on that level, on that note, doulas don't just help the mom. Whoever is in that experience, we doula everybody. So
That's
we may have to spend more time with the dad to help him be okay. We may have to spend a little bit of time with the grandmother or the mother or whoever is going to be in that atmosphere. Because when we get in that delivery room, we want everybody to be on the same page.
Right.
So we got to be with everybody. We got to be with everybody.
And I think that's beautiful because it's more so of a holistic approach instead of just on the mom, because this is a family community.
Yes. And what I always tell people, a baby is being born, but parents are being born too. Grandparents are being born too. Aunties are being born. Like, there's not just a baby birth. Everybody in this situation is being birthed into something or someone. So we have to take all that into consideration when you're looking at the whole picture, that this is a birthing experience for everybody.
Come on, multiplicity of
yes.
Jesus. Oh, man. So, what advice would you give someone who is searching for a doula? More so, not just someone, but someone in the African American, Black and brown community.
I would say, and this is going to sound bad, but I don't mean it bad. Prioritize.
Okay.
What I mean by that is, I will see people spend money on like thousands of dollars on hair, or hundreds of dollars on nails, $100 on lashes, $100 on outfits and stuff and sneakers, but they won't prioritize their health. And we are living in a time and a space where Black maternal health is in such a crisis that's got to be important. That's got to be, if you are expecting a baby, your health and your baby's health has got to be important enough to say, you know what, I'm gonna prioritize this above everything else right now. So set aside some funds for that to happen, because it may not be free. Set aside some funds for that so that you can have the birth experience that you want. The second thing I would say is, it's okay to look around. Like, you're not going to be the client for everybody, and everybody's not going to be the doula for you. So make sure that when you are looking for doulas, that you find someone that aligns with your beliefs, aligns with your desires, aligns with your theory of birth, how you look at birth, and what you want to see happen. Because what happens if you just say, well, I'm just going to get a doula, and you get with someone that doesn't register on your mental at all, and now you're in a situation where you've paid for somebody to be a doula, but y'all don't even connect.
Right.
So make sure it's someone you can connect with, that believes in your philosophy of birth, and that you feel a chemistry with. Because this is a relationship that's going to be long-standing. I still have clients that I have been friends with for over 2 years.
Yeah.
They've had that one baby and they've not had any more, but we still are connected. We go to lunch. We may send each other some crazy texts. Relationship, because for me, it's not just about, I'm gonna be a doula and then after that, we done.
Right.
I believe in relationship, and you can't build that with someone you don't connect with.
Right.
So those are two very important aspects of finding.
That's good. And I'm glad that you went. You talked about, still being in relationships with those that you helped or assisted with birthing, because I remember looking on your page and you were at one of your clients' child's, I want to say the second birthday party or something.
It was his first birthday party.
Okay, because I was like, oh, that was so sweet.
Yes, and I love that. I love being able to be invited back because you really never know fully sometimes the impact you have on somebody
Right.
until they're like, "Hey, can you show up here?"
Uh-huh.
I'm not having a baby, but can you show up here? There's clients that I have that like the same client trying to help them find childcare. So we've
Mm-hmm.
extended our relationship past just I was your birth doula, but I'm really trying to be an instrumental part of your life because I
Right.
care about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. And I
Yeah.
recall, I want to say that it was Philly. You went to Philly. You was helping a family there. I think she had
That
had a
was
baby.
Toledo, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And we still keep in contact.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes, yes, yes. So
See?
I work in Knoxville, but I also travel. So if
Uh-huh.
people like I need a doula, but I don't know anybody here or I don't feel connected to anybody here, there are doulas that travel. I happen to be one. So
Yeah, because you was up there whipping stuff up in the
yeah,
kitchen, trying to help her lactate. And so I was like, come on,
yes,
girl.
yes.
Yes.
Because the thing about it is, after you birth takes a lot out of your body.
Yes, it
It takes a
does.
lot out of your mind, but it takes a lot out of your body. And you need certain things in your body to help you heal. So
Mm.
what we did with her is I, made her a lot of healing suits. Um, she has some postpartum healing tea that I didn't make. Another doula in the city made that. But I brought that with me to help her.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people will get like a herbal bath after they've given birth to
Mm-hmm.
help their insides get the way it
Yeah.
needs to, or have like a yoni steaming session to
Mm-hmm.
help them get back to where they need to be. So there's a lot, like there's a lot out there that people don't know that they even have access to.
See, ain't nobody tell me this. I'm over here all.
Jacked
Anyways.
up.
See, that's why y'all are needed. You is kind. You is love. You need it.
I am cracking up. Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. But yes, in
Yeah.
the African American let's slow down. See, you heard it. In the African American Black and Brown community,
Yeah.
doulas are so needed because we we deal with so much. We deal with so much, especially when it comes to mental health.
Yes.
And kind of to segue a little bit, because I ran
Mhm.
into these young men and they were talking about autism.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to dib in that too much, but it did strike a chord because that has been something that I kind of been paying a lot of attention to. And I asked the guy, I was like, why does it seem like, no, I didn't say why does it seem like, I said, why is it that
Mhm.
autism is at an all-time high, as
Mhm.
well as it's another, it starts with a B, I can't think of the name of it. And he said mental health.
Mhm.
And I feel that, especially in the Black and Brown community, having doulas, especially in that process,
Mhm.
helping us to recenter, refocus,
Yeah.
shift the energy, remove, because toxins we sometimes we don't know, but
Yeah.
having that right massage, having the right
Mhm.
atmosphere, having the right aromatherapy in the atmosphere helps remove those toxins where
Mhm.
it doesn't pass on to our child, and then
Right.
ultimately they're dealing with autism, they're dealing with these different issues because we did not have that assistance that we were
Mhm.
needing as it relates to having a doula, midwife,
Mhm.
somebody in the room to
Yeah.
assist us as it relates to this transition. And a lot of times giving birth can be traumatic if you don't have the right people in the room.
Mhm. Mhm. And so
That was me.
like there are so even with relation to autism, like we know that there's certain neurological issues that happen
Yeah.
that whether you had a doula or not may not have been able to prevent, but there are
Hmm.
certain things that can be prevented if you start out right. Okay. So I was like, there's an organization that I'm working with, and they pointed out something to me that I had not thought about. See, I'm thinking, okay, I just help women with birth,
Yeah.
labor, all that when they're babies. But what she pointed out to me was that there's so much you can do even after that to help parents get off to a good start
Mm.
with raising their babies into toddlers, into children, because it all works hand in hand. The start that you have as a baby will follow you into your toddlerhood, and your toddlerhood follows you into your childhood. So it all works hand in hand. But if you have those good starts,
Yeah.
it helps. So thinking outside the lens of just birth and postpartum, like what assistance can a doula give to say, okay, you're a parent now. Let me help you get on the best foot. Like
Yes.
even reading to your baby
Mm-hmm.
before they even come out the womb, read to them. When they're
Baby, I
born,
played Beethoven. I played
yes,
Mozart. I played
yes,
all of that for both of my kids because I
yes.
just love music, but it wasn't just gospel because we love worship, we love gospel,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
music, period. You're
Yes.
gonna be well rounded.
Yes. And then just like doing stuff like making sure your food intake is correct.
Yeah.
So when I was also nannying for a while, which I do that as well. But I had a couple that I was their nanny, and they had a 2-year-old, but they had a baby. That's who I was their nanny with the baby. And I watched how they fed their child. So their child did not have, there was no meat, there was no like a lot of bread, there was not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sugar stuff. Like this child's breakfast consisted of fruit, maybe some chocolate milk, maybe a waffle with like some organic honey or something like that. It was all like nutritional, had some nuts on the plate, like
Yeah.
nutritional stuff. And I'm looking like, see, this is the kind of stuff that we need to really be moving toward.
Yeah.
Like food that's gonna fuel us and not food just because I'm hungry, let me eat something, let me pull out some Apple Jacks that's
Yeah.
loaded in sugar and red
I'm
dye and
toast.
all the stuff that we don't need in our body that can be causing some of these things to happen that we're not thinking about. So it really is like a multiplicity of things that if we just change something simple, it can change the trajectory of our children and our toddlers and our babies, even from when we're pregnant with them. Like, because all that stuff that we feed them while we're
Yeah.
pregnant has an impact on their mind, their body, all of that. And then when they're born, it's like, well, why is this child hyper all the time? Because he was drinking Coca-Colas every day. That's why.
Red 40, yellow 5.
Yes, 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 yes. It makes a difference.
Wow. Well, this has really been good, very informative, and I'm sure that there are viewers out there who could say the same, who are saying the same, how good this episode has been to them. And so, before you leave, kind of tell us. I mean, because we see your name, Ty Roberts, Miracle V Birth Concierge. Like, who is that?
So are you asking about the name of Miracle V Birth Concierge?
Yes.
So so I have 2 businesses.
Mhm.
The first one is for profit, the second one is nonprofit. And the nonprofit is geared again towards doula services for families who can't afford it. So in the beginning, my first business was Gennisi Birth Services. That's what everybody knew it as. Well, when I developed the nonprofit, I made that Gennisi Charitable Birth Services. But what was happening was it was so similar that it was causing conflict because which one am I dealing with?
Connected
You know?
with, I got you.
And so at the end of the year, last year, I said, well, somewhere near the end of the year, I was like, I got to do something different because I want to make it a distinction of who people are dealing with when they're reaching out to these businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept running through these names and none of them was really doing nothing for me. And then somebody said to me, what about naming it after the daughter that you had that passed away in 2000?
Wow.
And I was like, wow. So long story short on that, I got pregnant in 99 and I had been praying for this baby for years.
Mm-hmm.
And needless to say, the pregnancy and the birth were all traumatic. It just went from bad to worse to worse to worse.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up having her when I was exactly 6 months pregnant.
Wow.
And she was 1.5 pounds when she was, not even half, 1 pound and 5 ounces when she was born. She stayed alive for 5 weeks and she went home to be with the Lord. But her name was Miracle Victoria.
Wow.
So when I thought about it, I'm like, that could not be a more perfect way to memorialize her and keep her name alive.
Yeah.
So that's why my for-profit business is named Miracle V Birth Concierge.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Woo, girl. I'm like, So we not doing this.
We
So
not.
yes. So how can they stay connected with you? You're on social media, your website. How can they get
Mhm.
connected?
So I'll give you all four. So on Facebook, I'm Ty Doula Roberts. My business pages on Facebook is Gennisi Charitable Birth Services. And then I also have Miracle V Birth Concierge, both on Facebook. On Instagram, same thing. Miracle V Birth Concierge on Instagram and Gennisi Charitable Birth Services on Instagram. The websites for the nonprofit is www.gencharities.org. That's GEN charities.org. And the website for the for-profit, which is Miracle V, is www.miraclevbc.com.
All right,
Still
y'all.
plugged in.
Y'all heard it. Y'all know y'all need these resources.
Yes.
Y'all need to dig in, get this information,
Yes.
get plugged in, get tapped in. Cause I mean, many of y'all out here, y'all probably playing it, trying to figure
Mm-hmm.
out which step, which way to go.
Yeah.
Right here,
And it's going to
right
be
here.
beneficial to keep up with us, especially for the nonprofit, because we have instituted childbirth education classes, community childbirth education classes, only $5. So I teach that class myself because I'm certified as a childbirth educator,
Hmm.
and we do it like we usually do it in 3-month increments. So we just had our last one last week, so we'll pick it back up probably around June and do another 3 months. But I usually put that on my Facebook business page as well as my personal page and my IG pages. So keep watching out for those. And at some point, we're going to offer newborn care and infant CPR that will also be connected. So just if you can get the classes and not have to pay arm and leg for it, and it's benefiting our community, I love for you to show up and get the education and resources that you need.
Okay, y'all. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it
Mhm.
from the CEO, the woman of God that has come on to share this information, especially to us black and
Yes.
brown people. We
Mhm.
need this information. And $5, it ain't just $5. It's a seed being sown to
Right.
help you. Amen.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't mean to say amen, but you
Yes,
know
you
what I'm
did.
saying.
We're
All
getting you,
right.
girl.
Ah, Ty, I thank you so much. Thank you for coming on, sharing your expertise and helping to equip us in the African American and Black and Brown communities because this is information that is so needed. And I know there is much more. But we just got a limited amount of time. But nonetheless, thank you so much for your yes and coming on and sharing. And this won't be the last time. I'm pretty sure it won't be the last time. So
Thank you
I
for having
appreciate
me.
you. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Well, y'all heard it. Y'all heard Ty. Come on, sharing this information. Whew, I'm not crying to be crying, y'all. This thing just got good to me. So y'all do me a solid. Make sure y'all share, like, tag, repost, get the information out. Somebody out there needs this. Somebody life depend on it. So make sure you share this information. Y'all know how I do. I'm so appreciative of each and every one of y'all coming on and just tuning in. Until next time, guys, it's your homegirl, your sister friend, E. Marie signing off. Deuces.